While the majority of Paladins are about ending evil and crushing their enemies, some choose to walk a different path, one of second chances and redemption. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the RPG Daily, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. As we dive into this Oath of Redemption, please remember to hit the like button if you like the video, but only if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get notifications, come join us on our Discord server, and also follow me on Instagram so you can get the other content that I publish over there. Looking at the Oath of Redemption, immediately I made the assumption that this is a paladin that is out to redeem themselves in the world. And while I'm not necessarily wrong, I'm also not necessarily right. I think that would make for some fun storytelling, but mechanically speaking, and in the flavor text of this oath, the Oath of Redemption Paladin is about finding and helping others reach that redemption for themselves, not for the Paladin. I think this Oath of Redemption is an interesting path that can lead to some really difficult choices, especially depending on the adventure party and the attitude of the other players around them. These Paladins believe in the power of redemption and second chances, and they believe that the good can purify anyone and any evil can be brought back to the side of good. That is a tough stance to take on things, but these Paladins are not idiots, they're not fools. They might be fools, but they know when someone is too far gone and needs to be destroyed instead of returned to the light. Tenets are the fundamental beliefs of Paladins. Each oath has their own set of tenets that all Paladins within that oath understand and follow. The Oath of Redemption Paladin starts off with peace. Violence is a last resort, and diplomacy is a good place to start. Innocence. People and creatures are inherently innocent. They learn their bad deeds and their evil ways from their surroundings. It's the classic nurture versus nature scenario. They also believe, though, that because these are learned habits, they can be unlearned and brought into the good. Patience. Change doesn't happen overnight. It's a constant process. A seed of a tree is not going to grow unless you constantly nurture it and help it along its path until it takes root and can actually grow. Wisdom. You need to keep your mind clear to be able to discern when an enemy can be helped and when they are too far gone. This is a decision that they can't take lightly, so they need to be ready to make this decision with a clear level head. At level 3, the Oath of Redemption gets their oath spells, of course. Oath spells are spells that every paladin has available to them. They are always prepared for that paladin, for that oath, and they count as paladin spells even if they don't originally come from that list. At level 3, you get Sanctuary and Sleep. Sleep is an interesting one that doesn't quite work how everyone kind of wants it to work. At least most people read it, they see sleep, I put this person to sleep. It doesn't work like that. When you cast the sleep spell, you actually roll a certain amount of dice to get a pool of numbers. Then you cast the sleep spell in an area, and starting with the creature with the lowest hit points, you apply this pool to those hit points, subtracting 1 from the pool as you do, and when that creature reaches 0 hit points from your pool, then they fall asleep, and then you go on to the next lowest hit points creature in the group. So it's not as controllable as I put that creature to sleep, but it still does some good stuff. At level 5, you get Calm Emotions and Hold Person. Both of these are really good for controlling and kind of keeping people under control. Calm Person lets you end the effect of being charmed or frightened by calming an ally's emotions. They're usually in it's a heightened state of emotion, but you're calming them down. At level 9, you get Counterspell and Hypnotic Pattern. Hypnotic Pattern is an AoE charm, an area of effect charm, I should say, for those who aren't up with the hip RPG lingo. You essentially make a 30-foot cube of swirling, charming lights. Every creature within inside that cube needs to make a wisdom saving throw, or they are charmed for the duration of the spell. Any creature that is charmed also happens to be incapacitated. They're hypnotized. At level 13, you get the spells Autilux, Resilient Sphere, and Stone Skin. Autilux. The Resilient Sphere is a shield kind of bubble. If you've seen Steven Universe, you know what I'm talking about. It creates an impenetrable bubble around the creature, and that bubble can be moved. The creature can roll it like a hamster ball, or people can roll it around or pick it up or move it, but they cannot pass damage or spell effects through that bubble. At level 17, you get Hold Monster and Wall of Force. Wall of Force is a pretty powerful spell. It seems to be an upgrade to Autoluke's Resilient Sphere, in that you are creating an impenetrable barrier, but that barrier can be a little more versatile. You can put it as a plane, you can create sections of wall, you can create a sphere around something. You have options. At level 3, you gain your Channel Divinity abilities, which first up is Emissary of Peace, which gives you an instant bonus to your charisma. You're just that charismatic. As a bonus action, you can activate this ability and you gain a +5 to any persuasion checks you make for the next 10 minutes. This is you using your power against anyone who is violent. When you see an attacker deal damage to someone or something, as your reaction, you can rebuke them, causing them to make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail that wisdom saving throw, they take radiant damage equal to the damage that they dealt to that target of theirs. If they succeed on the wisdom saving throw, then they take half the damage. At level 7, you get to expand your auras with the Aura of the Guardian. This is an interesting one, and it really ties into maybe you need a lot of hit points to play this oath properly. When you have this aura, and you see a creature within 10 feet of you get hit with an attack, as a reaction you can magically transfer that damage to yourself instead of them taking the damage. This does not reduce the damage that you take in any way, but also any spell effects or other side effects of the damage are not passed on to you. You just take the damage. At level 15, you gain Protective Spirit, which I think is a really cool ability. It's a self-heal that just keeps you going. When you are in combat and you end your turn with less than half of your hit points and you are not incapacitated, you regain hit points equal to 1d6 plus 1/2 your Paladin level. At level 20, you get to become the Emissary of Redemption. You turn yourself into the Avatar of Peace. This is a really interesting ability, and there's a lot of little things to think about. The wording was kind of interesting, so pay attention, and then go read it for yourself and interpret it for yourself as well. That's kind of the important takeaway here. Unlike other capstone abilities for Paladins, this one does not need to be activated with an action or a bonus action. This one is always activated for you. The first thing you get with this is you gain resistance to all damage dealt by other creatures. So your attackers, essentially. All damage. Spells, attacks, all of it. You gain resistance. The next part of this is whenever a creature does hit you, they then take radiant damage equal to 1/2 the damage that they dealt to you. So bear with me. If a creature attacks you and they roll 16 damage to you, you then have that because your resistance to all damage from that creature, making it 8. Then, as part of this radiant rebuke, I guess we'll call it, they take half of that damage, so they take 4 radiant damage. So essentially, they're taking 1/4 of whatever damage they roll. The twist side of this feature is if you attack or harm a creature in any way, then they are not under the effects of this ability until you take a long rest. So, for an example, let's say you are in a combat with a dragon and a troll. Why would they be working together? That's for your DM and you to decide. You decide you're going to attack the dragon because that seems like a good idea. From that point on, this dragon now will actually deal full damage to you when it attacks you, and it won't take any of that radiant damage back at it because it is not under the effect of this Emissary of Peace. The troll, however, whenever the troll attacks you, it will have reduced damage and it will take radiant damage back to it. So there's some tactical thinking there of which creature you're going to attack in the moment, which one do you want to risk them hitting you. This lack of effect lasts until you finish a long rest, so essentially till the next day. The wording of this is really weird. I had to go Google it to see what's going on, and this was the explanation that I found that made a lot of sense to me. So do with that what you will. That's just my interpretation and some other folks. That's it. This subclass for me is really fun because it is the party tank. This subclass, I don't see this as meant to be dealing a lot of damage, and if I were to play this, that's the route I would go. I would make it a survival tanky and give it some healing abilities. I would probably go ahead and pick spells that are more abjuration and shielding type spells, so then I could help my allies more and bolster their combat abilities while just being in the middle and keeping people protected. That was what I would take on the role. I think it's really interesting that we don't see classes like this a lot, or subclasses like this a lot. We see them more as like, here's how they deal damage, or here's their uber powerful healing abilities. But this one is really keep everyone alive. It's also interesting that their abilities don't just extend to their allies, but they can work to everyone. You can rebuke the violent on your ally if you want to. It's any creature that deals damage, you can rebuke them with your rebuke the violent. From the role-playing perspective, it is interesting to find a class or a belief system for an oath that is specifically about giving others second chances and rewriting that. I've played characters that try to keep people alive. They aren't the ones who want to kill people, but they will when they have to kind of characters. But I've never played one that does that out of the belief that others can be saved. It's always just been, I don't want to be violent, or I don't want to kill people, so I won't. And I find that kind of a fun playstyle. Again, all of these, you can run into conflict within the party, as you could have this one paladin, the Oath of Redemption, who believes that the enemies can be saved or can be turned back to good, while the rest of the party is like, no, they can't. They are beyond help. And that's a party dynamic that would have to be worked out, and I think would make for some really interesting storytelling. So, do with that what you feel like doing. I've been Richard. Thanks for watching.